How is it possible that a movie made by a YouTuber who's 19 feels more interesting than almost every Hollywood slop of recent years? Violence Milk here, and I just watched the Backrooms. Super quick synopsis. The movie follows the character Clark, who owns a furniture store, until the moment he discovers a doorway hidden in the basement that will lead him to an unsettling place, the Backrooms. He quickly becomes obsessed, exploring and investigating every night since. But here's the thing, the Backrooms doesn't feel like a horror movie or lost media, it feels found, like some sort of evidence, hence the name. So, who's the director? Who is the mastermind behind all this, and why is he breaking the internet right now? Kane Parsons started creating these films while he was still a teenager. Kane has created a whole universe of really deep iceberg of lore, with just a camera and some Blender skills, creating analog found footage horror content, and the internet loved his take on it. He understands the genre better than most Hollywood writers. It feels refreshing rather than some demonic slop. I actually felt scared at the beginning. I just love the Lovecraftian unknown horror theme and everything about liminal spaces. It's a genre I haven't seen that much, and hopefully we get a series, because I think the Backrooms would work 100 times better as a show than a movie. This is a great introduction though, and a possible bridge for people who wasn't that familiar to the lore, me included. I'm so invested right now. But what do I mean by saying it felt more real? There is this weird realism to Kane's style. The footage feels believable, human, it's raw. Like if genuinely a person just picked up a camera and started documenting what they're seeing. The imperfections make it scarier. I think we are witnessing the birth of a modern classic, like the same kind of craziness that happened when Blair Witch and Wreck first aired. So now with the actual movie. I think it can get really immersive, especially with the sound effects. They use silence in such a way, it actually makes you feel more than a loud noise would. There was a scene when the pirate entity first appeared, where the people went silent at my movies. Even the ones eating or whispering. Nothing. Dead silent. The cinematography is beautiful. They use some shots and angles, like the repeating one where you could see the clouds. I like that one. The parts where they recorded with a hand camera feels exactly like that. We can sense the urgency of the characters. Usually a movie that wants to create a weird feeling would use Dutch angles, which are the ones where a character is tilted. This movie doesn't have this because it doesn't need them. It relies super heavily on the atmosphere. But here's where the movie kinda loses me a little. People who heard about the movie months ago but weren't entirely familiar with the lore made comments about how they didn't want the movie to have monsters, well, entities, but instead they should focus more on the emptiness of the world. I kinda agree, and I tell you why. I enjoy way better the first act because of this. We, alongside the protagonist, explore the unknown and vast liminal space. There's a feeling of wanting to know more, but being super creeped out by it. Don't get me wrong, I did want to see more of the entities. I just think they kinda rushed it a little. I don't think they expanded the lore enough. I want to know more about the graffiti. And Clark actually mentioned something about time, which makes me think Clark lived in the Backrooms way longer than we see in the movie. He was more confident, he knew his way around and learned many things that they won't tell us, at least for now. Maybe they didn't want to go the as above so below way, where they explored and went deeper each time, finding new things, but in my opinion, they should have focused more on the exploration part rather than the psychological, even though that one is also super important. What do you guys think? Throughout the film, Clark may seem plain, but he has a dark depth. The therapy roleplays with Mary quickly turn aggressive each time. He likes to twist his own story. Once Mary reacts, Clark realizes his mistakes. He's the only one to blame for everything bad that happened in his life. He's a drunk, raging man that can't even remember what really happened the night his wife kicked him out. Also, in case you missed it, they don't tell us specifically, but I think the fake woman in the kitchen might actually be his wife. She has the same hair color as the wife from a picture we get to see earlier. So when Entity Clark comes, we know that it didn't hurt Clark the first time they meet. But why? Because they're the same person. They say that to us. We know the Backrooms remembers places and people. But what if it doesn't just remember how they look? What if it also remembers how they behave? My point is, I think Clark refuses to accept what he did, and in his mind, the story he tells is what makes sense for him. I mean, He used to abuse his wife. That's why the entity wife runs immediately when entity Clark come in. The Backrooms knows that's her default reaction. That's why entity Clark is always so violent. So when real Clark listens to Mary and realizes and accepts his actions, he tries to talk sense to entity Clark so they can walk away. But entity Clark attacks him this time, because in the Backrooms memory, Clark is violent and doesn't hear anyone but himself. So by real Clark changing, the monster won't recognize him as himself anymore. Maybe I'm overthinking, but there's this belief that in order to make a good movie screenplay, you don't have to say everything out loud, but let the audience figure it out, to read between the lines. And then there's the ending. What's the deal with fake Mary? Did Mary escape? This is my personal theory, don't take it as fact. I don't think every single person that enters the Backrooms gets an entity version, and not every random person from outside gets one. I believe that in order to get an entity, you have to be basically a part of the place, to have such an iconic and strong presence there. Like, why did Clark get a pirate version? Because he had a strong presence, thanks to his commercial. People knew him from there. Why did the wife had one? Thanks to Clark. He felt such anger and resentment towards her. But Mary, I don't think she escaped. She's still being captive in the facility. The Backrooms remembers her a lot, and by being stuck there, she became a part of it. The last thing that didn't make a lot of sense, to be honest, but I just can't get out of my head, is why were Mary and her mother being searched in her childhood? Who and why broke her home? Were they just being kicked out of their home by some construction company? Or maybe, my nonsense theory, Mary's mother was a part of the organization that manages the Backrooms, and somehow got Mary inside and hid for some reason, until they were found. So when Mary comes back, the person behind the glass recognizes her. It doesn't make sense once I say it out loud, but it's fun to think about. I think that's why the Backrooms feels so important right now. It allows you to think, to discuss, make theories. I'm not a huge horror fan, but I can see that horror movies have been stuck in this cycle of cheap jump scares, over-explaining everything, endless sequels, endless remakes. It's burned out. It's over. Meanwhile, Backrooms understands something modern horror forgot. The unknown is scarier than any monster. The suspense. And even though Kane's videos do have monsters, the main focus is the desolated places we get to see, and the tiny pieces of lore to collect. To me, Kane did something magical with his channel and his web series. To me, they're actually better than the movie. Even though the concept came from a 4chan unknown user, Kane was the one who put in the work and made it art. And maybe that's why people are connecting with this movie so hard, not only for the infinite memes, games and cultural approach, but for the feeling of nostalgia the Backrooms brings. Its dreamcore aesthetic, the urge to keep moving forwards even if everything feels a blur, even if you're feeling lost. Backrooms felt authentic. It's made by a normal guy who didn't even go to film school. He's not poisoned or biased to anything other than his own taste and references. Even though it's a well-known format, it feels refreshing. A lot of people didn't like the movie because they expected the crazy levels and monsters, but this movie is based on Kane's Backrooms. That other stuff, I would say, is extended lore, that actually Kane has said he doesn't know that much about it. So, if you didn't like it, maybe you were not the target audience. The craziest part is that this is only the professional beginning for Kane Parsons. Because if this is what a 19-year-old YouTuber can make right now, imagine what he'll make in 10 years. If you liked the video, drop a like and subscribe. See you later, alligator.